Welcome to the deep dive. Every December, we hear the story of the Magi following, this single miraculous star to a manger.
It's a beautiful story. Absolutely iconic.
It really is. But what if the Star of Bethlehem wasn't just a piece of folklore, but something verifiable, something predictable and incredibly precise, rooted in actual celestial mechanics?
And that's the fascinating thing here. The sources we're diving into today, they treat the star not as a myth, but as hard, verifiable astronomical calculation.
Okay.
They argue these signs are understood thousands of years ago, and we can use them now to pin down key dates. The birth of Jesus, the crucifixion, and even remarkably to project a future prophetic timeline.
All right, let's unpack this. Our mission today is to get into the specific astronomical depiction of the Magi's visit. We're going to look at planetary alignments, especially Jupiter's motion, and see how this whole interpretation is used as a kind of confirming witness to prophecy.
It's a compelling argument because it really tries to move the narrative out of the realm of belief alone and into observable, repeatable science, into astronomy.
Let's start right at the beginning then, with the star itself. The source material says we have to get rid of the romanticized idea of a star just stopping in the sky over a stable.
Right. That it's just not accurate, astronomically speaking.
So what's really happening?
We have to talk about what it means for a planet to appear to stop. It's this concept called retrograde motion.
Okay.
From our view on Earth, as we orbit the sun, sometimes an outer planet like Jupiter seems to slow down, go backward for a bit, and then move forward again. It's really just an optical illusion.
It's created by our own planet overtaking the other one.
Exactly. So when the Magi saw the star stand still, what they were actually seeing was Jupiter ending its retrograde cycle. That brief moment it appears stationary is astronomically precise.
And it would have pointed to a very specific area on the horizon.
It's the celestial GPS lock, the final confirmation they were looking for.
So who are these people who could understand this level of detail? The sources are pretty firm that the Magi were not three random kings.
No, they were the court astrologers of the Persian Empire. The scientists, the mathematicians of their time. This was a respected official delegation.
And likely inheritors of the ancient school of Daniel.
Highly probable. These were people who had integrated Jewish prophecy with, Babylonian astronomy for generations. They weren't guessing.
And the idea of just three of them.
That probably just comes from the three gifts they brought: gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
So they were looking for a sign marking the birth of a king. The trigger for this whole journey, the sources say, was an iteration of the Revelation 12 sign.
Right, which is a very specific celestial setup involving Jupiter, the king planet, moving through the constellation Virgo, the Virgin.
And that one sign was enough to launch this massive quest.
A quest that took months. The sources are meticulous about this. They calculate the journey based on historical precedent, like Nehemiah's journey from Babylon or Susa to Jerusalem.
And that trip took how long?
About 5 months, 150 days.
They even give a distance, right? 666 nautical miles. That number always jumps out.
It does, but in this context, it seems to be just a geographical byproduct of mapping the road. The real key is the duration. 5 months.
Why is that time frame so critical?
Because if they hypothesized Jesus was born on September 11th, minus 3 BC, a lot of interpreters of this sign use.
Okay.
Then the Magi, traveling for 150 days, wouldn't have reached Jerusalem until around March of minus 2 BC.
Wait a second. So they didn't show up at the Manger right after the birth? They were 9 months late.
Precisely. They get to Jerusalem in March, prompted by another sign entirely. A triple conjunction of Jupiter with the star Regulus in the sign of Leo.
The king planet with the king star and the king sign.
You got it. So they knew the king was born, but they needed that final stationary sign to pinpoint the exact location.
So they actually waited in Jerusalem for another 9 months, just waiting.
Waiting and confirming before that final celestial event told them to go the last few miles to Bethlehem.
Which brings us to that cosmic configuration over Bethlehem. The final prompt was Jupiter appearing to stand still.
Yes, right in line with the town of Bethlehem. This was the moment its retrograde cycle officially ended.
And this is where the precision gets Caesary. Kind of unbelievable. The sources calculate the exact moment this happened.
They do. December 25th, minus 2 BC at 4:44 a.m. local time.
Down to the minute. How can they possibly justify that?
Well, modern astronomical software can reverse engineer these orbital paths with incredible accuracy. That 4.44 a.m. time is when the planet hit its exact stationary degree relative to the horizon and all the other key celestial markers.
And that alignment was just packed with meaning, according to them.
Extremely dense with meaning. Let's break it down.
Please.
First, Jupiter, the planet of the Messiah, is in Virgo, the Virgin. That confirms the nature of the birth.
Okay, that's straightforward enough.
But at the same time, you have this breathtaking alignment of the constellation Crux, the cross.
The cross, and its position was significant.
Very. It was aligned perfectly vertically on what's called the galactic meridian ley line, directly in line with Jupiter in Virgo.
For our listener, the galactic meridian ley line is what exactly?
It's basically the center line of our Milky Way galaxy.
Yeah.
So seeing the cross aligned perfectly on that central cosmic axis would have been seen as a profound confirmation of the Messiah's future.
Wow.
And there's more. If you zoom out a bit, Crux was also in line with a constellation called Coma Berenices,
Which anciently was depicted as?
a woman sitting and holding a man-child. And the calculations show Jupiter was positioned in a phi ratio, the golden ratio to Coma. It's a mathematically harmonious, perfect placement.
So it's not just random points of light, it's a whole picture.
The entire celestial canvas was telling a story. For instance, the constellation Centaur was seen as piercing Lupus, the wolf. Lupus often signified the victim sacrificed, which seems to foreshadow the crucifixion in 32 AD.
The sky is confirming the birth while simultaneously mapping out the end of the story. This leads us to what the sources call the nemesis effect.
Right, this idea that the same sign can have a dual opposing meaning. They note that 3 other planets, Pluto, Mars, and Venus, were also witnessing this.
And you can read that 2 ways.
Exactly. On the positive side, 3 planets for the 3 wise men and their gifts. But the negative reading, that's where it gets interesting.
Go on.
Pluto, the lord of the underworld, or Lucifer, was positioned right at the heel of Virgo. That echoes Genesis 3.15, the prophecy of the woman crushing the serpent's head.
And Mars, the god of war.
Was in Scorpio, the enemy constellation. So the king isn't just born, he's born to wage a cosmic war. The sign confirms the incarnation and, at the same time, the conflict he was born for.
It all goes back to that Genesis mandate, doesn't it? That the stars are for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
It powerfully reinforces that idea.
Okay, so let's move into how this astronomical data is used to validate the whole historical timeline. Because even with this amazing sign, the Magi still had to go talk to King Herod.
A crucial step. They had the sign, but Herod had to consult the elders of Zion to get the place Bethlehem from the scriptures.
So the signs always have to complement the written word.
They have to work together. And the sources make a really poignant point here about the failure of Israel's own teachers. They knew the prophecy about Bethlehem, but completely missed the sign in the sky.
So let's use the data. If we accept the birth on September 11th, minus 3 BC, and the visit on December 25th, minus 2 BC, that's a total of 470 days.
Right. 1 year, 3 months, and 14 days, which lines up perfectly with Herod's decree to kill all the children 2 years old and under. He gave himself a buffer.
And if we calculate the whole lifespan from that birth date to the proposed crucifixion date of April 14th, 32 AD,
The total duration comes out to 12,269 days.
which is 33 years, 7 months, and 3 days.
And that strongly supports the 32 AD crucifixion year. It provides an astronomical validation for the entire timeline. It's pretty astounding.
So Jupiter's predictable cycle is like a celestial clock, confirming both the beginning and the end. But the source material doesn't just stay in the past.
No, it immediately leaps into future prophecy. The argument is, if these astronomical principles are constant, then these critical Revelation 12 signs have to occur again.
Tied to Jupiter's 12-year retrograde cycle.
Exactly. And the big focus now is on the upcoming 2029 alignment,
Okay, so why 2029?
because that's the next time the full configuration repeats. Jupiter, the Sun, the Moon, all aligning in Virgo in just the right way. And the sign is believed to culminate precisely on September 11th, 2029.
And that date is significant because...
It coincides exactly with the end of Rosh Hashanah 2029 on the Hebrew calendar.
And the mechanics of this 2029 prediction, they mirror the original birth story.
They do, very closely. Jupiter enters Virgo's womb, a section of the sky defined by specific stars, on November 1st, 2028. It stays in there for about 9 months, just like a gestation period.
It even has a retrograde period inside the womb.
Yes, it reverses course on the summer solstice, June 20th, 2029, and is then birthed out on August 20th. The full configuration then locks into place on that September 11th date.
And the sources connect this future sign directly to their proposed timeline for Daniel's 70th week, or the tribulation.
That's right. And we have to emphasize, we're just reporting on the very specific scenario laid out in these sources. They link this 2029 sign as a kind of prelude to the midpoint of that final 7-year period.
According to their calculations, when would that 70th week begin?
They propose a hypothetical start date of October 31st, 2026.
Which would place the midpoint 1,260 days later on April 12th, 2030.
Nisan 10 on the Jewish calendar. This is the moment they hypothesize for the appearance of a false messiah and the abomination of desolation.
So in this scenario, the 2029 sign, the return of the Star of Bethlehem configuration, is interpreted as a final warning.
A warning for the Jewish remnant to flee. A signal for a kind of massive Exodus 2.0, just before that catastrophic midpoint in 2030.
And then from that midpoint, they calculate the actual return.
Yes, another 1,260 days from that April 2030 date would bring you to September 23rd, 2033, as the calculated return of Jesus.
So if we connect this all together, the source material is arguing that the alignment from over 2,000 years ago was essential for pinpointing the incarnation and crucifixion.
And now they're saying the very same astronomical principles, Jupiter's retrograde cycle, the Revelation 12 configuration, are being applied to map out potential future events.
So what's the big takeaway here? The core idea is that astronomy, celestial mechanics, can be used as an independent, confirming witness to biblical prophecy.
Right down to specific dates and times, both for validating past events, like the 32 AD crucifixion, and for potentially signposting future ones, like this 2029-2030 period.
The sources are essentially saying that the logic the Magi used is the same logic we can apply today. The cosmos is a reliable, pre-programmed clock.
That's the argument.
So the source material posits that the same astronomical data that pointed the Magi to Bethlehem is now configuring again in 2029, culminating on September 11th. Consider the initial mandate of Genesis 1.14 that the celestial lights were created to be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. How might that precise ancient directive shape our understanding of observable events above and the complex prophetic events proposed to happen below? That is something for you to mull over.